Hello and welcome to the channel. As always, like the video, and if you enjoyed the story, leave a comment on if you would want more. This fan fiction was not created by me, but in the description there is a link to the fanfic so you can show your support to the creator and read along. Without any more delay, let's dive into the story.
The weekend after the infiltration was a busy one for Akatani. Saturday was initially going to be a day out for him, Inko and Eri. But at the last minute, he received a phone call from Nizu. Principal Nizu? Mikumo. I hope I'm not calling at a bad time? Well, I am about to leave the house to spend the day out with my mom and Eri. What is it that you want to talk about? I saw what happened to the Shai Hasaikai hideout last night on the news. Am I wrong to guess that you had a part to play in that massive conflagration? Akatani glanced back. His mother was talking to Eri on the other side of the living room. From the looks of things, they didn't appear to hear his conversation with the mammal. And if I had, he spoke a bit more quietly for good measure. I would like to talk with you about what you had hoped to achieve from your latest act of chaos. Nothing judgmental, just to understand your intentions. Of course, when would it be a good time? I was hoping I can talk to you now, hopefully. I understand that you are about to leave to spend time with your family, but I promise that I won't take too long. Akatani glanced back at Inko. I'll speak to my mom for a moment, but what do I say to her? Tell her that as a class representative, we need to discuss the integration of Shinso Hitoshi into your class this coming Monday. Alright, please hold on. Take as long as you need. Akatani approached his mother. Mom, I'm so sorry, but something cropped up. What is it, Mikumo? Principal Nizu wants to speak with me regarding the integration of a new student to my class. He hopes that we can settle the logistics before he arrives this coming Monday. Oh, what a pity, Inko sighed in disappointment. Does that mean that you won't be joining us, Mikumo? Eri asked, a little teary-eyed. Hopefully it shouldn't take too long, Akatani tried to sound reassuring. How about this? I'm still on the phone with Principal Nizu. If I can keep it to an hour or so, I can join you guys for lunch and we can spend the afternoon at the shopping arcade as planned? Let's hope he is willing to accommodate, said Inko. Akatani returned to the call. Principal Nizu? Can we keep the meeting to about an hour at most? That can be done, Mikumo. Great, I'll see you soon. See you then. Akatani hung up. Come, Mikumo, I'll send you down, said Inko. Ah. Mikumo, I'm glad that we get to meet on such short notice. Akatani nodded, taking a seat across the mammal. So to start off, I want your reassurance that you won't think I have lost my marbles until I finish my explanation. I'll keep an open mind. Okay, so when I lost consciousness following our murder of Overhaul and his goons, I woke up in a void. Suddenly, this celestial being appears before me, and says they are the power my body is the vessel of. Before you ask, they are not a quirk, rather a cosmic force that came to Earth just when the Great Quirk Wars were being fought. The power has found humans before me who are destined to change the world. Nizu nodded, not saying anything. After Denki and I saved Eri from the Shai Hasaikai, the power has been a guiding force of sorts. They led me to overhear Detective Tsukachi's call about organizing the raid against the Yakuza group, and it was their suggestion that I infiltrate the hideout. And what was the reason for the infiltration? Asked the principal. Akatani opened his backpack and pulled out the 2 cases he'd stolen from the hideout. He opened the cases and placed them on the table to let Nizu see. What are these? The red cartridges are the quirk-erasing drug that the Shai Hasaikai was developing using Eri's blood. The blue ones are what I believe are the antidote. Nizu was silent for a moment, before sitting back, paws steeped together in thought. You do realize, Mikumo, that what you possess could have you sent to Tartarus if found out? I know, Akatani nodded. And what do you plan to do with them? To be honest, I'm not entirely sure, the teen replied truthfully. All the cosmic power told me was that the drug could serve me well in the future. What that means I don't have the slightest clue. However, I won't be letting these cartridges out of my possession. Nizu nodded after a moment. Tell me, Makumo, where do you intend to keep the cases? I'm hoping that you will be willing to hold on to them for me temporarily, Akatani said. While I cannot say for Yui as a whole, your office is probably the most secure place in the entire campus to hide a dangerous drug. As I said, it's only temporary until I find a purpose to use them. Nizu appeared deep in thought. Very well, Makumo. I will hold on to the cases on your behalf for a time. I do expect you to come up with a use for them, sooner or later, though. I trust the force within me, Akatani replied. I'm sure they'll guide me through this. The principal nodded. Very well, Makumo. Is there anything else that you want to talk about with me? There is, actually. Do you know what happened to Ingenium? Nizu's expression took on a grave cast. Yes, I did hear about what happened to poor Tensei. Such a promising hero, his career cut short by a madman bent on a twisted ideology. I had a call with his family last night just before I watched the news of the conflagration. They are still reeling from the incident. How is Ida? Asked Akatani. I only spoke to the mother, Nizu replied, but understandably, the entire family is not doing too good. That's where I am concerned for Ida. Akatani leaned back into the sofa. The hero killer has hit far too close to home for him. I fear that he may do something absolutely stupid in his grief and anger. I understand your worries, Makumo, Nizu nodded, and I trust that you will be keeping a close eye on young Tenya? You can bet my left butt cheek that I will, the teen said resolutely. As it was, Akatani tried to keep Ida at the back of his mind as he attempted to have fun during the outing with Eri and his mother. They had a nice lunch at a restaurant, before doing a spot of shopping. The trio returned home in good spirits and ready to call it a day with a home-cooked meal. Sunday came with considerable fanfare. Despite it being the traditional off day for most Child Protection Services employees, Inko was called down to the local Mizutafu branch to be declared Eri's legal guardian with the right to adoption if she so chooses. Understandably, Eri broke down in happy tears when Inko returned home with the news, and the trio went out for a celebratory dinner with Kaminari and his parents after Akatani shared the good news with his boyfriend. Akatani also kept Nizu up to speed with Eri's custody. It was through the principal's advice that it was decided that Eri would follow Akatani and Kaminari to school every day, primarily for her safety. Nizu offered to look after the girl while the two teens were at lessons, something which Akatani was all for without any hesitation. Then came Monday. You ready for your first day of school, Eri? Why yeah. Inko smiled, and hugged her ward. Eri, don't be nervous. You are in good hands while you are at Yui. Makumo and Denki will bring you to Principal Nizu's office. I'm sure you remember Nizu, right? He'll take care of you while Makumo and Denki are in their classes. You can even join them for lunch. How does that sound? Eri gave a wobbly smile. That does sound good. The matriarch beamed. Wonderful, then look forward to it, okay? She got up and turned to her son. Keep her safe, Makumo. I will, swear on my life. All right, take care. See you, Mom. Bye. With that, Akatani and Eri left the apartment for the train station. It was raining when they departed, so Eri put on a raincoat while Akatani opened his umbrella. The ride to Yui Station was unremarkable. Joining the rush hour crowd as they alighted, the pair rode the escalators up to the concourse where they paused to pick someone up. Denki. Kaminari looked up from his phone and beamed. Makumo. Eri-chan. Akatani pulled the electric blonde into a one-armed hug and kissed his cheek. Were you waiting long? Nope. Kaminari replied, only waited about 5 minutes or so. Ready to go? Akatani grunted and took the blonde's hand into his own. Hand in hand, the pair shared Akatani's umbrella while Eri walked alongside holding his free hand. The short walk to the gates was uneventful, but when the trio reached the lockers, things took a somewhat darker turn. Makumo, it's Ida. True enough, the youngest son of the Ida family had just arrived, wearing a green raincoat and boots. Though his face was obscured by the hood, Akatani didn't have to guess that he was still troubled by what happened to his older brother. Doing his duty as vice class president, Akatani approached Ida. Ida-san, good morning. Good morning, Akatani, Ida replied as he kept away his boots. Ida-san, I heard about what happened to your brother. If there is anything I can help with, please let me dash. Akatani, you don't have to worry, Ida interjected, unbuttoning his raincoat, we're dealing with it the best that we can. I know that you're just doing your job as class representative, but I promise you that we'll get through this somehow. Thank you for your concern. The robot-like student smiled, but Akatani could easily tell that it was forced. Ida's smile, however, turned into a look of surprised confusion when he laid eyes on Eri. Who's this? This is Eri, Akatani introduced. She was rescued from a villain over the weekend. She's currently under my family's legal custody. We're moving along the adoption process over the coming week. I see. Ida boomed, unwittingly startling the young girl. He bowed deeply. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Eri-chan. It's nice to meet you too. Ida, tone it down, will you? Kaminari said, Eri-chan's not used to loud noises. Ah. My apologies. I promise to keep my voice volume down in Eri-chan's presence. Akatani's sweat dropped. While it was still loud, at least Eri wasn't flinching this time around. Anyway. Homeroom starts in 5 minutes. We should be making our way to class right away. Don't wait up, Ida-san, Akatani replied, we need to bring Eri to Principal Nizu's office first. Let Aizawa-sensei know, could you? You can count on me, Akatani. With that, Ida took off towards the classroom. If I hadn't known that Ida is putting up a front, I'd think that he was his normal self, Kaminari remarked. That's why I'm keeping an eye on him for now, Akatani replied. Come on, Eri, let's go to Principal Nizu's office. After seeing Eri off with Principal Nizu, Akatani and Kaminari headed to class, hand in hand. Along the way, they met Aizawa, now bandage-free, much to the pair's relief. When they reached the 1A classroom, they encountered Shinso, who just managed to find the right classroom after getting lost. Aizawa told the lilac-haired brainwasher to wait outside until he was called in. Kaminari flashed a thumbs up, before hurrying inside. Good morning, class. Good morning, Aizawa-sensei. Ajui pressed a finger to her lips. Your bandages are off, Karo. I'm so glad. Yes, the old woman went overboard with her treatment, Aizawa sighed. Anyway, before we start, there's a couple of announcements I have to get through. Yayarosa raised her hand. Aizawa-sensei, where's my neta? I was getting to that, said the eternally tired underground hero. First off, you can expect to never see my neta again anywhere in Yui from now on. He has been expelled. There was a great whoop of cheers from the students, especially the girls. As such, we have a new student who will take the rat bitch's place, Aizawa continued, before turning to the open doorway. You can come in now. Shinso nervously stepped into the room. Ojiro started at this, immediately frowning at the teen who took advantage of him during the sports festival. However, that quickly became surprise when Shinso approached him and bowed deeply. Ojiro-kun, I hope that you can accept my humblest apologies for brainwashing you without your consent. It was wrong of me to do so, and I hope that you can forgive me, so that there will be no animosity as we become classmates for the rest of our 3 years here. The tailed student blinked, unsure of how to take the unexpected apology. Akatani quickly came over. Shinso-kun is being genuine, Ojiro-kun. He has learned his lesson, and I hope that you can let things go and start afresh with him. Ojiro considered his vice class president's words, before nodding. All right, I forgive you, Shinso. Thank you very much. I promise to never take advantage of you or anyone else in the future. Akatani allowed a slight upturn of his lips, before guiding Shinso to the empty seat that was once occupied by the rat bitch. Now that is out of the way, I have an important announcement to make, Aizawa drawled. Today, we will be having a special hero informatics class. The entire class, sans a pair, froze. Several students feared that there was a pop quiz to come, and fretted about their shortcomings in their respective areas of study. Akatani and Kaminari, on the other hand, had no such worries. Aizawa had already filled them in on what homeroom today was going to entail, and it wasn't a pop quiz. We'll be coming up with your hero names. Everyone, except for Akatani and Kaminari, burst into wild cheers. Aizawa glared at the class, quirk activated, and everyone went quiet immediately. As I was saying, this is related to the draft picks I mentioned before the sports festival. While in previous years, these draft picks usually only take place in your second and third years, this time round, in response to the USJ incident, UE will be opening hero internships to first years too. Not only are we showing that our newest batch of students are work ready, but it also shows that the industry thinks you are worthy. I don't think I need to remind you that your performance during these internships could make or break your career as a pro hero before you've even graduated from UE. It went unspoken, but the entire class got the message. Now, these are the number of offers for each student of 1A. Aizawa produced a remote and pressed a button. On the blackboard, a holographic screen appeared with a horizontal bar chart. The names of each student were displayed next to each bar. Akatani blinked. His name was right at the top of the chart, with over 7,500 offers from pro heroes around the country. Next was Todoroki with just over 4,000 offers, followed by Bakugo, who had just under 3,000 offers. From there, the rest of the students each had a couple hundred offers to their names. Kaminari breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that he had about 200 offers. For a brief moment, he thought that he wouldn't be getting any given his performance during the sports festival. And while he did feel a smidgen of envy that Akatani had way more offers than he did, Kaminari quickly pushed that thought away. His date had won the sports festival, it was only natural that he would get more offers than he did. As it was, there was one member of their class who wasn't on the list. Shinso does not have any offers because he has only officially joined the heroics course as of today, said Aizawa. However, that does not mean that he will be slacking off while you lot are gone. He will be interning with me, and I will put him through the ringer to get him up to par with the rest of you. Am I clear, Shinso? Yes, Aizawa-sensei. Good. Going back to hero names, while it may be temporary, you will still be presenting yourself as prospective heroes. This is a serious matter. The door suddenly slammed open. Because there will be hell to pay should you regret it. Everyone looked up as Midnight sashayed into the room in such a sensual manner that it made Akatani slightly nauseous. How Yui hasn't come under sexual harassment lawsuits, the purple-haired teen had no idea. A lot of hero names used by students will be recognized by the public, and more often than not, will become the student's actual hero alias when they go pro. Aizawa sighed, that's how it is. Midnight will oversee the creation of your hero names. When you give yourself a name, you'll be in turn creating a concrete vision of what you will become. This is what the saying means, names and natures go hand in hand, like All Might. Akatani felt the urge to throw up his breakfast, so he took a sip of water to settle down the bile as Bakugo threw a set of 3 whiteboards onto his desk. Frowning a little, Akatani took one and smacked the explosive blonde's head with it, before passing the remaining 2 behind him to Kaminari and Yaoyorozu. Bakugo couldn't do anything without earning the teacher's ire. Now, I'm going to take a nap. Don't disturb me unless there's a villain attack, someone is injured or dying, or Bakugo has lost his marbles for the upteenth time. A name, a name. Akatani would spend 10 minutes writing, erasing and rewriting until he settled for a name. Just as he put his marker down, Midnight turned to the class, "Alrighty children. Let's start presenting names for those who are ready." That got everyone's attention, some unexpectedly. A couple of students broke into nervous sweat, fearing the judgment of their chosen hero names by Midnight and their peers. Aoyama, the brave and flamboyant soul that he was, stood up and made his way to the lectern. "Here's my name. The shining hero, I cannot stop twinkling." Akatani's sweat dropped, what a mouthful. Midnight shared the sentiment, that's too long. Why don't you remove the I and change the cannot to can't? Aoyama literally sparkled, "Very well, mademoiselle," and returned to his seat. Akatani raised an eyebrow, "That's acceptable?" Ashido went next, "I'm going with Alien Queen." Midnight visibly flinched. Are you trying to emulate that thing with acidic blood? I wouldn't do that if I were you. You'd scare the innocent civilians. Ashido went back to her seat, disheartened. Karo, I'll go next. Azui raised her hand. Come on up. Akatani leaned back, pissed. Denki. Have you come up with a name yet? Almost. Just getting the opener right. At the lectern, Azui showed her whiteboard to the class. I've had this idea since elementary school, Karo. The rainy season heroine, Froppy. That's so cute. I love it. Midnight gushed. Now, who's next? Akatani and Kaminari shared a nod, before standing up together and heading for the lectern. Kaminari went first. I'm going with the taser hero, Chargebolt. Right, tingly and cool. Absolutely fantastic. Beaming, Kaminari made way for Akatani. He showed his whiteboard to the class, the Jade Lightning hero, Reiku. That got a response from the class. Reiko? Hagakure tilted her invisible head. What's a Reiku? Ojiro wondered. Care to explain, Akatani-kun asked Midnight. During the sports festival, Yamada-sensei kept introducing me as the god of Jade Lightning during my matches. It kinda stuck, so I thought about godly figures and electricity. Then I remembered this pre-Quark franchise called Pokemon. The franchise had the concept of legendary Pokemon, essentially gods and goddesses in the world. There was an electric-type legendary called Reiku, and I thought that I should adopt it as my hero name. The R18 heroine rubbed her chin. While many people are not likely to recognize the significance behind your name, it does have a cool vibe to it. Very well, I accept it. Totally manly. Kirishima shouted from his desk. Akatani nodded in acknowledgement. Together with Kaminari, they returned to their seats. From there, everyone came up to present their names. There were a number of creative ones, such as Uraraka's Defying Gravity heroine, Uravity and Shinsa's Puppet Master hero, Mindjack, a few more generic ones, such as Ashido's second choice Pinky and Ojiro's martial arts hero, Tailman, and some unique ones, like Tokoyami's Jet Black hero, Tsukuyami. Todoroki went with his given name, which when asked for an explanation, revealed that this was what he wanted people to know him as, rather than someone clouded by Endeavor's legacy. Akatani understood Todoroki's logic, and gave the bicolor-haired teen a nod as he returned to his seat. Then, there was a stupid one. King Explosion Murder. Bakugo growled to the class. Dead silence. Bakubro, seriously? Shut the fuck up, shitty hair, the explosive blonde screamed, it's fucking perfect. Akatani rolled his eyes, a 5-year-old can come up with a better name. Oh hi. Kaminari stage whispered. I agree with Akatani-kun, Midnight shook her head, not only does it sound bad structurally, people would think that you are a villain planning on mass genocide. Ha? The fuck did you say you dash? Bakugo suddenly found himself being ensnared by Aizawa's capture weapon. Detention after school, Bakugo. Now sit down and come up with a better name. The explosive blonde was thrown unceremoniously away from the lectern. Growling and with palms smoking, Bakugo stomped back to his seat. Then, it was Ida's turn. When he presented his whiteboard, a dark cloud settled over the entire room. Ingenium. Ida-kun. Midnight muttered. It is the least I can do, the robotic student declared, a bit shakily. As you all would have probably heard by now, my older brother is unable to continue hero work. Stain's attack robbed him of his legs. Because of Stain, the name Ingenium was almost lost. But I refuse to let that bastard inflict any more damage. I will carry on the Ingenium name, to show that bastard that my family will not be cowed by his bloodthirsty, murderous crusade. It did nothing to alleviate the heaviness in the air. Midnight eventually spoke, if it helps, I can accept that. Akatani watched Ida return to his seat, paying no attention to Bakugo's failed second attempt at a hero name. If Ida's facade was cracking before, it was barely standing now. Despite the robotic student's attempts at hiding it, Akatani could see the desire for vengeance bubbling away as plain as day. He clenched his fist. He wasn't going to let Ida out of his sight. Even if he had to sacrifice his internship to keep his wayward classmate on radar, he would not let things go. A good hero was permanently incapacitated by a madman whom the pros still haven't caught, the latest victim in a long trail of blood. Ida was essentially a dead man walking if he continued this mindset for revenge. Speaking of internships, Aizawa had woken up and was addressing the class. Now that most of you have chosen your hero names, we can get back to talking about your internships. They will run for 1 week, and as to where they will be held, it depends on which offer you decide to take up. Everyone except for Shinso will be given a ring binder containing all the offers that are available to you. Think carefully of which offer you accept. Each pro hero and agency specializes in different areas. You can either have a fruitful experience or a complete waste of time. That is all from us. When I call your name, come up and receive your binder. The bell rang shortly after that. Oh my god. She's so cute. Eri gave a wobbly smile, inching away from the pink-skinned girl getting a bit too close for comfort. Ashido-san, please step back, you're making Eri-chan uncomfortable, Yayorozu admonished. It was lunch hour. The quartet of Akatani, Kaminari, Jairu and Yayorozu had gone as a group to Principal Nizu's office to pick up Eri for the afternoon meal. The four acted as a guard wall around the little girl to shield her from the stares of other UE students along the corridor and in the cafeteria. Though, once they were seated, they couldn't stop their curious classmates from coming over. Oh. Sorry. Ashido moved back. I'm Mina, and I'm Mikumo's classmate. Since when did I allow you to use my first name? Akatani muttered in between a bite of his katsudon, but went unheard. My name's Toru. Hagakure said from the side. Call me Tsu, Karo. It's nice to meet you all. Eri waved back. Tokoyami turned to Kaminari, so she was rescued from a notorious villain? That's right, the electric blonde nodded, concealing the true reason why Eri was under his boyfriend's care. Mikumo's mother just saw her and claimed her right on the spot. What a mad banquet of darkness, the bird-headed student remarked. At least the innocent soul was saved before the damage became irreparable. Yeah. Ashido, Hagakure and Ajui hung around for a little longer, before eventually dispersing back to their own tables. Shinso decided then to pick up the conversation. Where are you guys planning on interning? I was given an offer by Hawks, Tokoyami replied. The number 3 hero? Kaminari blinked. That's so cool. It might have been, if it weren't for the possibility that Hawks only sent me an offer because I have the head of a bird. Oh. Kaminari's sweat dropped. Still, I might learn something useful from him. He's not number 3 for nothing. What about you girls? Shinso asked. Still haven't decided yet, Jairu replied. Well, I was sent an offer by Uwabami. Yayorozu said, only to be interrupted by Akatani. Oh no. No, the purple-haired teen stood up. I strongly suggest that you reconsider. But why? Uwabami can hardly be counted as a pro-heroine, Yayorozu-san, Akatani explained. You're more likely to see her on TV promoting her latest product line or on runway shows rather than on the streets patrolling against villainy. If you choose to intern with her, my biggest guess is that she is going to use you in some commercial rather than teach you anything meaningful. You're going to end up wasting a full week. Well, in that case, I better continue searching. Also, if you happen to chance upon anyone else considering Uwabami's offer, do them a favor and ask them to reconsider, Akatani added before sitting back down. You're surprisingly into this, Akatani, Jairu remarked. Look, if there is one singular thing that I can agree with that bastard Stain, is that some people are not worthy to be heroes. They saturate an industry that is already difficult to get into, depriving other pure-hearted and dedicated prospects the chance to do good in a world that is completely fucked up. While that is really deep and insightful, Akatani, Tokoyami spoke up after a moment, I must remind you that you are in the presence of a young child. And right on cue, Eri asked, what is fucked up? Akatani slammed his head onto the table, shit, mom's gonna kill me. What's shit? The rest of the lunch hour was spent trying to teach Eri that those were bad words and were not meant to be repeated in polite company. So which agency are you planning on choosing? Kaminari asked. Probably the best one available in Hoso City, Akatani replied, leaning back into the pillow. The pair was ensconced in the purple-haired teen's bedroom, spending the afternoon chilling together in each other's company. I did some research. Stain attacked Ingenium in Hoso City, so by all accounts, Ida-san will also choose an internship in Hosa too. Stain often moves between city districts after each attack, but he normally doesn't do so for at least 2 weeks. With a bit of luck, I will be able to catch Ida-san before he does anything stupid. Kaminari cuddled into his boyfriend's chest. Are you actually going to go after Stain, though? Hopefully not, Akatani replied, but if the situation calls for it, I just might. The electric quirk blonde hummed, Mikumo, I know that you took on Shigaraki and the Numa back at the USJ, and ultimately came out of it on top. But Stain, he's on a level that I think surpasses the League of Villains. You know how the pros and law enforcement have never been able to catch him. And, I care for you too much to see you get maimed or even killed by him. Akatani immediately wrapped his arms around his boyfriend in a tight embrace. Pressing kisses all over Kaminari's face, he whispered, I know. But if I were to keep an eye on Ida-san, the possibility of encountering Stain is extremely high. Either way, I will have to fight the bastard. But, I promise that I will keep myself safe. I will not go looking for trouble. My main priority is to beat some sense into Ida-san. But if Stain attacks me, I will fight back without hesitation. His boyfriend's reassurances helped settle Kaminari's nerves a bit. The pair remained silent for several moments, enjoying each other's presence. Say, Denki, have you decided on your internship place? About that, actually, the blonde straightened up. I received an offer from a pro-heroine called Miruko? Akatani's eyes went comically wide in an uncharacteristic show of emotion. Mikumo? Denki, you are so fucking lucky. Kaminari was stunned. What do you mean? For the first time in a long while, a tiny piece of Midoriya Izuku came into Akatani, Maruko, civilian named Usajiyama Rumi and hero alias the Rabbit. Heroine. She is the number 5 pro hero in the country, and she almost never, ever, takes on interns. The very fact that she sent you an internship offer shows just how rare this opportunity is being presented to you on a silver platter. God knows how many rookie hero wannabes have sent her requests pleading her to take them on as interns or sidekicks. And despite that, she turns down every single one of them. She sees teaming up with other heroes as cowardly. This is so completely unlike her. Either she has had a change of heart, or she sees so much potential within you that she decided to throw away years of tradition just like that. Denki, please consider her offer very carefully. This is an opportunity that almost never comes again once it's gone. The electric quirk blonde was visibly stupefied. Never had he seen his boyfriend devolve into such passion before, but also equally important, he had no idea that such a high-ranking hero had actually sent him an internship offer. Akatani was right, this was an opportunity that he simply could not refuse. Also, Miruko is a master at physical combat. While her quirk doesn't give her flashy powers, it gives her the strength to take down villains just by using her limbs. Denki, you have a potentially powerful, dare I say flashy quirk. Add that with terrifying physical prowess, you will be an unstoppable storm that villains big and small will cower before you. Alarm bells, the good ones, were ringing in Kaminari's head. He never denied the fact that he was, occasionally, envious of Akatani's power and strength. He had tried to forget it, but in the periods of commuting during their first date, people from all walks of life came up to his boyfriend and praised him for such a stellar performance during the sports festival. Each and every time that happened, Kaminari was ignored. It was as if he wasn't there, even though he was holding Akatani's hand. Kaminari would be lying to himself if this unintentional snubbing stung his heart each and every time. But given what happened during that first date, the hurt was quickly put into the back of his mind. Now, though, he had the chance to catch up to his boyfriend. I know which offer I will take. Akatani nodded, hugging his boyfriend tighter. Choices of agency were submitted to Aizawa, and 1 week later, Class 1A, San Shinso, were gathered at Yui Station, carrying their allocated briefcases containing their hero outfits. The time had come for them to head off for their 1-week internships, and Aizawa was briefing them on what was expected of them during their time away. You're not allowed to wear your hero outfits unless given permission by your interning agencies. And always be mindful of your manners, behaviors, and actions. You are representing Yui, so make sure you do not do anything stupid that would dishonor the school's name. Akatani glanced at Ida at this. Other than that, I have nothing else to say. Off you go. Yes, Aizawa-sensei. The class split off, talking to one another excitedly about the week ahead. Akatani turned to Kaminari and hugged him. Stay safe, alright? I'll text and call you when I can. You especially, Mikumo. Akatani tightened the hug and kissed his boyfriend. With a final nod, the couple separated and went off to their respective platforms to await their trains. Ida was already at the platform, his stoic expression struggling to hide the inner turmoil from his festering desire for revenge. Even though the bespectacled teen did his best to hide his true thoughts, it was clear as day to Akatani, who stood several meters away so as to not get noticed. He and Ida were off to different agencies within Hosu, but with a bit of luck, he could convince his supervisor to also be on the lookout for his wayward classmate. Speaking of his supervisor, wasn't she an interesting bunch? Doing research into the agency that he accepted, Akatani learnt that they had a whole locomotive vibe going on. The agency was called the Train Yard, and all of the heroes who worked there dressed as characters from a pre-Quirk era musical called Starlight Express. In essence, the heroes were portraying anthropomorphic trains and carriages, even going so far as to move about on roller skates to emulate the wheels of locomotives. Might as well that Hatsum gave him a pair of the multi-purpose skates that she had worn during the sports festival. And speaking of the pink-haired crazy inventor. Hatsum-san? Akatani asked with as much calmness as he could from just dodging an exploding piece of machinery. The day after he submitted his choice of internship agency to Aizawa, the purple-haired teen had made his way to the support labs in search of his former teammate during the cavalry battle. He was just approaching the doors when the cosmic voice within him suddenly manifested. Mikumo! Get out of the way! Instincts kicking in, Akatani dove away from the doors, just as an explosion rocked the corridor. The doors burst open with a bang, and a flaming piece of scrap metal came sailing through the doorway, smashed through the window and disappeared from sight. Picking himself up, Akatani crept towards the doorway, checking for any other projectiles before allowing himself in. Hatsum-san? Are you inside? Amidst the whirring of machinery and equipment, a familiar pink-haired girl, covered in soot and grease, popped up from behind a workbench. Mr. 10 million points. Good to see ya. What brings you here to my humble abode? Ignoring the fact that Hatsum still wasn't addressing him by his name, Akatani made the point of his visit known. I will be going on my 1-week internship soon, and I need some gear. Sure. Hatsum leapt over the workbench right up into Akatani's face. What sort of babies do you need me to make? I have some blueprints that I'm hoping that you can complete by next week. I'm sure you heard about what happened to Ingenium. It was all over the news. Hatsum replied, a real tragedy. Maybe I can design some bionic legs or gear so that Ingenium can return to hero work? That's up to him to decide, Akatani replied, but that's beside the point. I need these gear because I will be tracking his younger brother's moves during the upcoming internship week. Wait, Engine Legs is going after the hero killer? From what I've been observing, it is very likely, Akatani confirmed grimly, in the very real chance that I encounter Stain, I will need top-rate support gear to ensure that the younger brother doesn't end up dead. And, as far as I know, you are the best inventor in the entire support course. Hatsum's chest puffed up with pride. You got that absolutely right. And by inventor's guarantee, I will get these babies up and running by week's end. Thank you, Hatsum-san, I really appreciate your hard work here. That was a week ago. Clutching a suitcase carrying all the gear that Hatsum made for him, Akatani watched stoically as Ida went off in a different direction towards another exit. Heading for his own exit, Akatani emerged into Hosu just as the sun was about to set. Walking the 10-block distance to his internship agency, the purple-haired teen arrived at a building that looked all the world like Grand Central Terminal in New York City. Behind the Beaux-Arts facade was a 5-story building that reminded Akatani of neoclassical architecture that looked worn with time, but nonetheless grand. It was a stark contrast to the modern buildings that made up the city, but judging from what he had read about the train yard agency, they didn't do things by halves. This is it. Let's see how this plays out. Akatani noticed right away that instead of steps leading towards the front doors, a series of ramps going up and down a platform running along the front of the building stood in place. Immediately reminded of the roller skating vibe going on inside the agency, Akatani opened his suitcase and pulled out a modified version of Hatsum's sports festival skates that were less clunky than the original prototypes. Taking off his shoes and putting on his skates, he rolled up the ramp to the front doors and let himself in. Just like the exterior facade, the main lobby of the train yard was modeled after the concourse of a major train station. There was some activity about, though not as busy as it would be in the Mighty or Endeavor agencies. Eyeing the reception desk nearby, Akatani skated over. The receptionist, having just put down the phone, looked up as he approached. "Good morning, how may the train yard help you today?" "Hi, my name is Akatani Makumo, and I'm from Yui High School," the teen replied. "I'm here for my 1-week internship." "Akatani Makumo? Let me check first." The receptionist typed away at a computer. "Yes, found you. Hold on for a moment, okay? I'm going to call Ms. Electra to let her know that you've arrived." "Sure." A few moments passed, and the receptionist put down the phone again. "Akatani-kun, Ms. Electra is on her way down." "Thank you." At most a minute went, before all attention seemed to turn towards where the elevators were. Akatani raised an eyebrow. A tall woman dressed in what appeared to be a complex, silver monochrome suit of curved shoulder boxes, a chest box that had LED lights blinking in patterns, thigh and calf panels, and an extremely striking mohawk wig that easily gave her at least another head in height, made up of fiber optic cables that had blue and red lights at the ends, skated out with a distinct swagger in her movement. A few civilians had taken their phones out to snap pictures, as the woman scanned the lobby. Her eyes met with Akatani's purple ones, and her attention sharpened. She skated over. "So, you're Akatani Makumo, champion of the Yui Sports Festival." "That I am, and I presume that you are Ms. Electra?" The one and only, the heroine weaved a gloved hand through her mohawk, her German accent somewhat noticeable. "I was very surprised to hear that you have chosen the train yard as your place of internship. Surely the champion of the biggest sporting festival in the entirety of Japan would rather intern in an agency that has a more elevated standing than us?" "I have my reasons, Ms. Electra, which I will not divulge in public." "Ooh, harboring secrets, aren't you?" Electra smirked. "No worry, I'm sure you'll tell me in your own time." She glanced down at the skates the teen wore. "I have to say, those are some interesting wheels you have there." "Certainly unconventional. An acquaintance of mine invented them," Akatani replied with a hint of pride. "I'm sure you know Hatsum May, the second runner-up? These skates are a modified version of her original blueprint, which helped my team pass into the final round." "Ah yes, I do remember her, extremely quirky and full of life." Electra chuckled. "I must say that I was intrigued when I saw her roll about on stage. Perhaps I should give her a call for some quotations." "She will be extremely delighted, Ms. Electra." "And I'm sure she will be. Now then, we must get rolling, we have a schedule to keep up. Do couple on, Makumo, and don't worry about your bags, the assistants will move them up to your room for the week." Electra turned around, revealed 2 metal rings attached to the belt at her waist. Akatani grabbed on, and the pro-heroine skated back towards the elevators with her intern in tow. A quick ride up, and the pair emerged into an expansive space that looked like a mix between a typical office and a stage. Along the walls were more elevators that served the upper floors. Akatani was quick to notice the people milling around the stage area, all dressed in the costumes he read about from the musical this agency took inspiration from. Everyone! Electra called out, grabbing everyone's attention, our newest locomotive has arrived. The space burst into loud applause. Electra and Akatani skated up to the stage, where a middle-aged black woman with graying hair tied up in a bun end. Dressed in a green costume that resembled overalls with an open boilerplate on the chest and a coal tender backpack skated towards them. Young one, it's a pleasure to have you in the train yard. My name's Mama, and if you have any difficulties or problems, please come to me. Mama is the head honcho of the agency, Electra further introduced. She may be getting on with age, but that is by far only a number. Many villains have fallen afoul of her blistering steam, but don't let that stop you from seeking her for guidance. She is literally the mother figure to all of us here in the train yard, and her age comes with great wisdom and experience. We wouldn't be who we are today without her. It's an honor to meet you, Mama, Akatani bowed. I will take you up on your offer. Other introductions followed. Mama's son, hero named Rusty, started the wheels rolling, followed by the carriages, Greaseball the diesel engine, the freight, Electra's support components and the other pro-heroes and heroines who called themselves the national engines. Electra dear, why don't you bring Makumo up to his room? He must be exhausted after a long day, Mama suggested. I will do that, the heroine nodded. Come on Makumo, let's get you settled in for the day. The real work starts tomorrow, and you have to get your charge up for it. Lead the way, Ms. Electra.
That's it for today. Remember to show your support to the creator of this story if you enjoyed it. If you would like more parts of the story to be uploaded, leave a comment and subscribe to get notified when the story continues. Bye-bye for now, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day.